APL Ensemble Studies 1, David Holland, or 101-2452, Foundation Music Entrepreneurship, University of South Wales. The Raspberry Jam are an entertaining, toe-tapping, acoustic country folk band from Neath Port Talbot. I am a member of the Raspberry Jam and the ukulele player and vocalist, but the way the Raspberry Jam now performs 12 months into its timeline is not the same as what it was when it first started. When the Raspberry Jam first started, it was a much quieter acoustic band, and for drums and rhythm, we used to use an African djembe. The honest and only reason why we used an African djembe was because our drummer Patrick owned one, and that was the only reason we used it, and we just utilised the instrument as best that we could. The African djembe give us a very distinct sound, a different sound to other bands on the live circuit, due to the fact that most bands consist of drum kit and guitar, whereas we were using a guitar, a ukulele and an African djembe to create a different sound that still appealed to the audience. When the Raspberry Jam used the African djembe to cover songs, when I look back, in hindsight, our selection was limited because we couldn't have that much rhythm, because to play the African djembe at a high tempo, to get that high distinct rhythm sound, was quite difficult. To make sure that the African djembe fit with the song that we were doing when we were playing, in rehearsals, we used to film a cover song on our iPads and then play it back just to make sure it sounded good, so that when we did go and play it live, it translated to the crowd well. An example of this can be shown on screen now. We began to discover that with new songs and contemporary songs that we wanted to kind of attempt in our kind of way, the African djembe wasn't going to enable us to do it in the most rhythmic way that we wanted to. So we spoke to a few people, and eventually they kind of recommended a cajon. A cajon is a Mexican drum box which you sit on and tap the front face with the palms of your hand. Behind the front panel of wood are like little metal pieces that would be on the underneath of a snare drum, which enables the cajon in various places to sound in the middle like a kick drum, but at the top very snappy like a snare. Once we started experimenting with the cajon and using it in a live situation, we realised that this was a necessary change for the Raspberry Jam to move forward. Another area where the Raspberry Jam had to move forward was the departure of Patrick, our drummer. He had a job opportunity abroad, and it was his dream job. So we parted well, and then we welcomed a new drummer into our midst, which was a tricky time for the Raspberry Jam, as it meant losing one of our best friends and seriously changing the dynamic of the group. By changing the dynamic of the group, we didn't know how it would move forward, how it would sound, and how the chemistry on stage would look. As a group, we needed to handle the integration and transition of Lloyd into the group in a competent way, because we didn't want the band to go backwards. We wanted it to move forward, but also keep the dynamic moving forward. We found in rehearsals, Lloyd was much more interactive as a human being compared to Patrick, our previous drummer, and this enabled us to alter our sound slightly and make it sound more contemporary within line to the likes of bands like the Lumineers and Mumford & Sons. The addition of the cajon and Lloyd as a personality to the Raspberry Jam really moved us forward into sounding like Mumford & Sons and Lumineers, which currently is the preferred sound that people wish to listen to. It is riding the crest of a wave and is a very, very popular music scene currently out there. And with that, it makes us look ahead of other bands in the live circuit, as of those who are still playing 90s rock or indie rock, which seems to have dipped slightly. We decided to keep rehearsals the same, because filming them and watching them back enabled us to have a good idea of what our sound sounded like to the audience. Also, by doing this enabled us to film the videos, and if we thought they were any good, we could post them online to our social media sites and create a buzz about a new song that we're going to play at our next gig. Using this technique has worked extremely well for us. It has enabled us to gather, as of today, when recording this, 1,658 likes on Facebook, 1,550 friends, and 484 Twitter followers. It means that when we have information and we can put it out to people who follow and are linked to our information, it means that it can create a big following at venues, which has begun to happen. Raspberry Jam now prides itself on doing songs in its own way and utilising instruments in ways that can cover up where other instruments would be. For example, with Mumford & Sons, we haven't got a banjo, so we play the ukulele in a style where it comes across through the sound to the audience that a banjo is still present. It's using techniques like this that have enabled us to develop recognition for creativity. And the other area, which you can see in the video right now, is that we don't have brass section in our band, but we bought a kazoo, which is a very cheap device, and we use the kazoo to act as our brass section. Using this simple technique makes performing live fun for us as a band, and because we're having fun doing these little things, it translates exceptionally well to the audience, who then want to get involved and be a part of the live music. Another area as a band where we have developed and made various shows different is by integrating other people into it. In other words, collaborating with other instrumentalists from the live circuit and using them in our set. For example, we met a guy who used to be in a country band years ago, and sometimes, intermittently, we'll use him as a bass player, which changes our sound slightly. But if we played that venue a number of times, it just adds a new kind of show vibe and changes the dynamic for that day. Also, we met an incredible guitarist who we will use from time to time to solo at various parts of our set, just to improve them, to make the set prettier. Again, for the reason of bringing something new to the crowd and to our audience, but also if we played the venue a number of times consecutively, it just changes it up, because if the audience is the same, it shows that we're continuously moving forward and not staying stagnant. With Lloyd being a much more interactive person, we have now started to use him in our set with a little bit of rapping, and it adds a little gimmick to our set live, because people are not expecting a drummer on a box to be singing or even being part of the entertainment. So it really does add a little dimension, and he's really good at getting the crowd involved, and it adds a little ace up our sleeve. Even though the Raspberry Jam is made up of musicians, and we could be construed as skillful musicians, but what we have realised with our time of playing on the live circuit is that predominantly we are there to entertain. So we put a lot of effort and skill into entertaining people so they want to come and watch the Raspberry Jam show again. The Raspberry Jam has filled its diary now for 2014, meaning that unless anything midweek comes our way, we're unable to take any more bookings. So we've begun to have to start making bookings for 2015. But with that, we've decided that we need to sit down, make plans, set targets, to keep the band fresh, to keep it moving, to keep it entertaining, to keep it relevant. So we've decided to learn 2 or 3 songs a month, to add them into the set. It gives us more of a scope and able to change the set, so every set or a different venue isn't the same. It isn't boring, it's fresh, it's unique. And we haven't got a fixed set list of what to start with, what to end with. We just got a list of songs, and we just, as we feel the room, as we feel the audience, we play and go with it. The Raspberry Jam has had to learn and adapt and develop, and to set targets, and to keep changing to keep themselves relevant. but the three people that now make up the Raspberry Jam make a good ensemble, and it is a great band to be a part of.